Live tonight, we have a special treat for you. After bravely facing death and nearly dying at the hands of Truckosaurus, accompanied by spending the last 6 months recovering from his injuries, let's give a warm welcome to the butcher of Belgian Free State, Leopold Philippe II. Greetings and welcome to Checkpoint Gaming. With this episode, we will be going over the basic lore as currently found within the game Gaslands, accompanied by some filler on our end based upon the information presented in the official material. With Gaslands, it was created by Mike Hutchinson and published by Osprey Games. With this episode, we will be pulling information from the core rulebook, Gaslands Refuelled, as well as the magazines Blaster Volume 1, Blaster Volume 3, and Blaster Volume 4. With this information, it will be the game's primer when it comes to that of the lore. With the game's backdrop, it is set in an alternate present day with its divergence from the real world happening during the space age. Although both saw humanity first land on the moon in 1969, the Gaslands timeline alters when humanity first landed on Mars in 1976 with Ares 1. Eventually, in August 1979, the first Martian installation was built with human colonization beginning in 1982. 9 years later, in 1991, the people of Mars declared secession, with the Martians attacking Earth that eventually led to the civilizations and societies of Earth to collapse in 1999. One well-known conflict from this period is known as the Battle of London and saw 600 free Martian pilots firebomb more than 20 square miles of enemy enclave found in the center of London in the name of Martian independence. This war of secession has left much of the Earth destroyed and its population now enslaved to the corporations of Mars. It also saw Earth become one giant ghetto with all of its money inevitably making its way to the coffers of Mars. With Earth now under the thumb and control of Mars, the network first aired the TV show known as Gaslands in 2008 with both amateur and professional races and other contestants compete in teams as they fight their way to victory in prime time. Eventually, Gaslands will become the jewel of the network, though other shows exist as well, such as Death Valley Death Run, and a game show where audience members have the chance of being randomly chosen to participate in a monster truck demolition derby. This can lead to some very interesting situations, as seen with what happened with Miss Annie McGarnacle. The network also provides unique entertainment events that are shown only on pay-per-view. This includes competitions such as Tank Commander, which has seen a resurgence in recent years. There are also special events that are brought about due to viewer requests. Who can forget about Truckosaurus Lives? With the network, it is a globally controlled television broadcasting network that is run by a group of greedy and treacherous Martian collaborators. The executive producer and chief anchorman of the network is a man by the name of David Logan, who is inevitably responsible for the network's lineup of ultra-violent and bloody sports and the gas-guzzling death races. Aiding the network's control is the absence of the internet on Earth. Plain is the cold-hearted nature of Logan can be seen with the war rigs that have to travel long and treacherous routes with their itineraries being made a matter of public record and are publicly broadcasted. This allows gangs of thieves, raiders, highwaymen, and pirates to target them. Because of this, the owners of the war rigs constantly request that the producers of Gaslands provide better protection for their teams as they travel between events. But the answer is always the same, that their resources are stretched way too thin. However, it's pretty odd that these scarce resources always manage to manifest themselves when a raid against a war rig occurs in order to broadcast the situation. In the spring of 2018, it ushered in the 10-year anniversary of Gaslands. As part of the celebration, Logan began offering a unique prize and the first in the show's history, a one-way trip to Mars. Instead of limiting this to the wealthy and influential, it now offers an escape from the broken and crumbling confines of Earth to the average man to start a new life among the havens of Mars. With David Logan's influence felt everywhere, he promises the deadliest races, the wildest halftime extravaganzas, and even the craziest forms of audience participation. His vision is simple, the most spectacular season of Gaslands to date. With the many promises made regarding that of Mars, there have been many people who have been willing to sponsor teams to help people achieve this goal of ascension. And of course, many sponsors have lucrative advertising deals in place. With Rutherford is named after Grant Rutherford, the son of a militaristic oil baron from the United States. Rich, aggressive, and uncompromising. Mr. Rutherford is adorned with his trademark cream Stetson with his beaming face plastered across advertisements selling his own brand of weaponry. After one of his teams won in 2016, he was all too happy to kiss Earth goodbye and run his company from his highly exclusive Martian office. Although his sponsorship still has a presence on Earth, his attentions have shifted to that of the Martian Racing Federation, with its Martian branch of Rutherford Industries Incorporated sponsoring racers there with the slogan of Reach Beyond Yourself. With Miyazaki, who was named after Yuri Miyazaki, who grew up in the rubble of Tokyo, where she fought her way to the top of the speedway circuit with impressive feats of daring and mechanized agility. She has a small fleet of elite couriers at her beck and call in order to run a job for the wealthy and desperate clients alike with skill and finesse. It is also rumored that she and her crew are gunrunners for the pro-Earth resistance, but anyone caught spreading these rumors tend not to live long enough to spread them far. With Mishkin, it was named after Andrei Mishkin, who, although not a natural sportsman, is a brilliant engineer and inventor from Russia. In 2010, he proved that technology is just as valid an answer on the racetrack as skill and ferocity. Coming from his research and development facilities up on Mars, he continues to send designs back to Earth for field testing by his sponsored teams. On Mars, he runs Michigan Terraforming that also sponsors racers in the Martian Racing Federation with the slogan of Better World Through Innovation. With Idris, it was named after Yandy Idris, who was once a mechanophile and speed freak. He even claimed that the first time he used a nitro booster while driving was like touching the face of God. After his meteoric rise during the 2012 Gaslands season, a cult formed around him after he crossed the finish line in a rolling ball of fire. After the race and his vehicle extinguished, his body was never recovered. Some of his most fanatical followers claim that once you reach 201 miles per hour, you will be able to hear the voice of Idris in the rushing headwinds. With the cult that formed around Yandy Idris, it is colloquially known as the Cult of Speed, which in turn led to the formation of the Order of the Inferno. With the Order of the Inferno, they believe that Yandy Idris is incapable of dying, for he rides the back of the living flame. They even claim that his voice can be heard from the roar of the road and the scream of super overheated metal. They claim that Yandy Idris represents freedom, and he shows us a path to our own personal liberation. And this knowledge can only be known by knowing the flame. You can even learn and read about it by buying a copy of Freedom in the Flames, which can be found at all major trading outposts. With Slime, they are a wide-eyed gang of young ruffians that rule the wild and feral city that is known as Anarchy, found deep within the wastes of Australia. Thousands of these individuals have managed to crawl out from the scorched wreckage of the earth and have rallied around the torn and ragged banner of Anarchy. These joy-filled gangs are led by the henchwomen of Slime, who are known as Jokes, and they seek fame and adoration from the audience members of Gaslands. And among this vast ecosystem of villainous and scurvy-ridden raiders is a self-styled gang of pirates who bear the name of their leader, Scarlet Annie. With Scarlet Annie herself, she is a dashing and flamboyant buccaneer with a cult of her own and is better known for her association with the long-running documentary series Death Valley Death Run than with any particular set of skills. But despite the Earth being destroyed and almost all civilizations collapsing, there are still some who wish to maintain at least some level of law, order, and justice in this new world of ours. One such individual is known as Warden Kajili, who is simply known as the Warden, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, a place that is a shining hub of humanity and has been relatively untouched by the Martian War of Secession. Found within Sao Paulo, the Sao Paulo People's Penitentiary, which has produced 3 of Gasland's top 10 teams from 2008 to 2018. What helps with this, at least to some extent, is the fact that the Warden continues to grant inmates in her prison the chance to earn their freedom as long as they participate in Gaslands. It can also be argued that she gets a kickback from this, as seen with the sponsorship deals that come her way. And though these deals are not all that great for the prisoners themselves who are welded into the Warden's coffin cars, it is better than the alternative they have to face in Sao Paulo. Then we have the Highway Patrol, who patrol the wrecked and broken highways of the world, where the law is just a synonym for vengeance and justice is a fading memory. Although these handful of individuals are unsanctioned, unloved, and unpaid, they still cling onto the dream of order. But regardless if they do this for the glory, enjoyment, or some other reason, they still try to restore at least some level of order in this forgotten land, as well as being the last remnants of law in this world. And it could be argued that the Warden and Highway Patrol's attempt to maintain order is succeeding, as seen with that of Vernie. With Vernie, he was one such individual who accepted Warden Kajili's deal and managed to earn his freedom. And it appears that he's on the straight and narrow, as seen with the fact that his skill as an engineer and his specialization in building unique Frankenstein vehicles for anyone who can afford his high-quality vehicles are occupying his time instead of any criminal pursuits. Then we have Maxine, the grease-smeared remnant of a high-culture society that is known as the Black Swans. Although many people believe that art is the last thing to have survived the Martian bombardment, the Black Swans hold to the idea that it has continued through the art of ballet. But with the modern interpretation of the dance, it has been mechanized, with the dancers weighing in at thousands of pounds and are dripping with oil and blood. But the dance isn't the only thing that has survived in this modern world. This can be seen with that of Beverly, a story that was meant to scare children and not to be taken seriously. But as the low growling is eclipsed, air-splitting shrill and screeching sound causes you to doubt this as the car drifts forward with windows like onyx and corroded bumpers. The sound then changes to a timbre, followed by becoming a sub-audible throb that tightens up your chest as your windows begin to frost up despite the burning heat outside. You begin to think that Beverly, the Devil on the Highway, just might be more than just a story. Finally, we have Rusty's Bootleggers, a group founded by Zeke Rusty and his boys who have been running moonshine from the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee since before the Martians turned the Earth into its current hellscape. Although their stills are volatile and their delivery vehicles are ramshackled and second-hand, the liquor that they produce would have their grandpappies proud. This despite the boys being too dumb or too drunk to remember how their grandpappies would have liked it. But despite many people being content with dreaming of obtaining riches by escaping the confines of Earth afforded by winning a television game show, there is an undercurrent of rebellion simmering in bars and back rooms across the globe. This stems from resentment by those who feel betrayed by their fellows for working for Martian corporations, even though there are some who are simply unable to afford principles and ideals. With those who choose to take a stand, they join the pro-Earth resistance with the aim of getting Mars to loosen the stranglehold that they have over the Earth and allow Earth to take charge of its destiny once again. Even though they are scattered, weak, and poorly organized, the pro-Earth resistance always finds a way to broadcast their message of freedom and resistance to the masses. And besides the Earth trying to recover from the Martian attack, the wastelands of the irradiated remnants of the planet are not quiet places. This can be seen with millions of empty graves found across the world where their eerie and irradiated occupants have once again taken breath and roamed the land as undead horde of zombies. There also appears to be a supernatural element to the world as seen with Beverly, the Devil on the Highway. With those that associate with Beverly, they are able to engage in violent physical manifestation after one of their members have died, but this reincarnation only appears to occur under certain circumstances. But these aren't the only horrors found roaming the earth as seen with hungry beasts that lock themselves in constant combat with humanity with huge claws and fangs as seen with the radiated field of New Mexico. But up on Mars, life is different, for civilization continues to operate. And though the inhabitants have to deal with the dusty Martian landscape, it is far better than the tortured landscape that Earth now possesses. Mars also sees great technological advancements as seen with a rail system that is known as the cross tube, racing vehicles that are known as grav racers, tablet computers that are known as digipans, where you can do things such as read comic books about Scarlet Annie, and a neural machine interface that is known as its Skulljack. Among the inhabitants of Mars, there is a form of entertainment that is known as the Martian Racing Federation. Similar to Gaslands, the Martian Racing Federation is a form of vehicle racing. However, unlike Gaslands, the Martian Racing Federation is organized and has at least some interest in protecting the racers and their vehicles. With that said, the races found in the Martian Racing Federation do not allow weapons or upgrades, and the participants can only engage in races that do not involve actually killing their opponent. Helping people further enjoy the sport, there is a gambling app found on one's mobile device that is known as Yicker WinUp. And like back on Earth, these racers can receive sponsorships. Besides Rutherford Industries Mars Incorporated and Michigan Terraforming, there are also Lexicor, who has the slogan of knowledge demands freedom, and Yicker Hydros, who has the slogan of happiness is cool, clean water. But not everyone has it easy on Mars, as seen with some Martians thinking of joining the resistance. Some just want to do this to cause anarchy, while others sympathize with the plight of their earthling cousins. With this sympathy, it can be seen as stemming from things such as the completion of Project Remus by Rutherford Incorporated, which was completed 16 months ahead of schedule in 2021. With its completion, it led to the immediate closure of all Earthside manufacturing and logistic facilities. Compounding the situation has to do with the automated decommissioning of said facilities by nanobots in order to turn them into raw material as part of the standard protocol set up by Rutherford for unwanted facilities and installations. This requires any employees found working in these facilities during this announcement to find a means of escape before the nanobots begin to disassemble said facilities. Although these nanobots are supposed to ignore organic material, a fair number of people are not entirely convinced by this fact. It was around this time that some of the facility workers that were escaping the disassembly nanobots discovered genetic experimentation being done by Jensen Corporation, where they were creating mutated dinosaurs. These genetic experiments were being funded by Rutherford Rutherford incorporated an attempt to create weaponized dinosaurs, and it was done at a facility connected to the Jensen Dino Park, which was closed in the early 1990s. So with that said, that is the essential lore surrounding that of Gaslands, and will act as a primer when it comes to the story and situation surrounding the game. With that said, we are also interested in hearing from you, the audience, regarding your view and interpretation of the lore. We would also like to hear any fan fiction and headcanon that you guys have come up with so far. And who knows, we might even help proliferate that information if you find it interesting enough to share. If you like this episode, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to stay up to date on any future episodes that we upload, then go ahead and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/checkpointgain. We look forward to seeing you the next time any official lore is released after the airing of this episode, and of course, happy gaming.